Hi, everyone. My name is China, and I'm here on behalf of the Montana Book Festival. I'm here with Trish Madson and Sean Sims, the author and illustrator of 10 Little Monsters Visit Montana, as well as Kate Farrell, the publisher. And Kate will be speaking to them about the process. So enjoy.
Thank you. Okay, so I am with Familius, which published this book, and we publish books to help families be happy. So we're super happy that we got to work with Trish and Sean on this one, and I just wanted to quickly introduce them. Sean is actually calling in from England right now. So he was brought up in the northeast end of England and studied illustration at Cleveland College of Art and Design before moving to sunny Brighton, where he now lives and works with his partner and his 2 children. He's always had a passion for mid-20th century design and illustration, and that's had a big influence on his style of illustration. Often described as having a style that makes you smile, his big, bold, and bright retro-style illustrations have been used across the globe on everything from children's books, magazines, greeting cards, gift wrap, packaging, toys, and fabrics, many for major international clients. As well as being an illustrator, Sean has a passion for collecting mid-20th century design and is never happier than getting up bright and early on a Sunday morning, looking at car boot sales for hidden treasure to add to his huge collection. And Trish is a lifelong book enthusiast with over 20 years experience in the publishing and entertainment industry. Her true passion is creating books that inspire and encourage children to learn while ultimately having fun. So hi. Thank you for coming. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the process of putting together this book. So what is your research process like when you're starting a new book?
So I'll take that one first. Basically what I do is the publisher will come to me with the state they want us to write about. And I will go and research all kinds of fun facts. There's so many great websites, not just for like state facts, but really unique things. There's travel sites that you can look at. And basically I go through all those sites. I try to come up with the most fun and fascinating places within each state, and then kind of pick from there, what I think would be most entertaining for children. So that's it. Luckily for me, I live in Eastern Washington. So I've been to Montana many, many, many times. So this one was really fun to not only research more about Montana, but kind of influence the things that I've already seen and experienced there. So that's kind of the process when researching what fun facts you want to talk about in the book.
Super fun. And then after you've done the research, how long does it take to write the book and sort of narrow down what you want to include in it? And then Sean, how long does it take to illustrate?
So the writing piece of it takes, anywhere from 2 to 3 months. It really just depends. With these books, what's so great is that they're rhyming. So you kind of have to get yourself in this rhyming mode, and then sometimes it comes really easy and sometimes it doesn't. So I find myself, when I'm kind of locked into writing these books, I rhyme everything. So like my grocery list, my bills I had to, everything that I do, I try to rhyme, so that way when I go back to actually sit down and make things rhyme in the book, I'm kind of in that mode. Oh, that's probably kind of annoying for most people, but that's just my process.
I love that. And Sean, what about you? How long does it usually take to illustrate?
Well, I'd say probably from start to finish, probably about 5 days. When you, maybe sometimes less than that. I mean, the illustration itself is fairly quick when you do it, but I'll start off with the research, because obviously everything is just written as the rhyme, and we're not going for. Didn't know anything from Montana at all, other than it was a kind of place with forests and mountains. That was my image of Montana, was like one of the wilder places of the USA. So the initial process is to wherever these places were, I didn't know anything about them. So initially I'll go to Google Images and I'll run through photographs and collect photographs of of the places, you know, the rapids or, you know, the different forests or mountains. And I'll place them on the illustration page. So my page where I start my illustration, I'll have little Google images of the mountains and the, you know, the types of trees and things that were there. Or if it's a tourist attraction, it would be that the image, so I can work from a visual image. I also get a few what other illustrators had done and how they'd interpreted the mountains, because you got to kind of simplify things down. So you got the famous mountains landscape, but with my illustration, I've got to strip it down to be a lot more simple, if you know what I mean. So it's how to create it's a recognizable place, but in the style of the illustration, it's got to fit that simple look, you know, if you know what I mean. And, you know, choosing the colors as well, you know, picking the color palette that needs to go with it. And it's a fine tuning thing. You sort of, bit by bit, you sort of, you know, you sort of tweak things here and there, and it comes together. And with my type of illustration, I can pull things out and pull things back in again. But it's a great fun process, and I've really enjoyed doing the book, and I've learned a lot about Montana as well.
That's wonderful, and always makes me really happy when our authors and illustrators like working on our books too. So that's great to hear. And do you want to talk a little bit about the process, and I guess from your side, like what is it like for you to collaborate, and sort of how often you get to see updates with the text and the illustrations together, and what that's like for both of you?
And well, I just get the whole thing as the written text of the book. You know, it's page 1, there's this, page 2 is this, and that. So, and I'm not sure whether, Trish, do you see the images as it goes along, or are you part of the process?
I do. So when I write the manuscript, I get a vision of what I think this spread should look like. So within my manuscript, I put illustrator notes. So I put little notes into you, like, or who is ever illustrating the book.
Right, yeah.
Kind of what I see in my head, and then I obviously leave it up to you to bring to life. But that's kind of how it starts. And then throughout the process, you will submit your sketches. And then the publisher will send them to me, and I'll be like, this looks great. We can't forget, you know, this, and this that are in the text. So I see the sketches, and then finally I see like fully colored illustrations, and then we kind of tweak it. I give my feedback, you know, to the publisher from there. So that's kind of how I see it come to life. Yeah,
I mean, because it's funny, because I don't actually work in pencil, and you know, often clients say, can you do a pencil sketch first? But I mean, I did it for this one, but normally I just go straight into the blocks, because it's the kind of work I do. It's very, like I say, for me, it's paper cutting. So to do it in pencil is almost sometimes, I can't convey it as much as I can with just doing straight onto the screen, if you know what I mean, because it's like flat blocks of color. But yeah, it's interesting that, you know, the process, you do go from that, you know, early stage, and you develop, and you know, client says, move this, take that out, add this. It's
it's kind of fun. For me, it's really fun to see the sketches, because then I'm like, okay, that is exactly what I had in my head, and I can't wait to see it, you know, in color.
Yeah, because I mean, with the book itself, you've got to convey the actual the place, or you know, that piece of the poem is about, the place in Montana, and also convey the comedy aspect of the little monster falling off the back of something or exploding. So you got two things to balance. You want a bit of dynamism in the picture as well. So when they're doing the rapids and everything, so you got to throw a lot of like movement and water in and stuff like that. So some of them I wanted to create a bit of a dynamic sort of viewpoint, like the tops of the bridges and stuff like that. I'm kind of remember because I did Colorado as well, so I did 2 books at the same time. So we did Colorado and Montana, and I'm trying to remember which one's which, you know, because they're both obviously separate states. But some of them had similar things in them, like rapids and snow and stuff like that. So forgive me if I say a thing about Colorado and not Montana, if I bring a Colorado tourist attraction or whatever.
So kind of bouncing off what you were saying before about just the dynamic illustrations and the little monsters, what is it about the monsters that make them a good vehicle for exploring new places like Montana? And that's a question for both of you.
They're just fun. They're just fun. I mean, this series was started by Rick Walton and Jess Mark Smiley, and they wanted to do kind of a Halloween-y kind of themed book, but not really call it Halloween. They just, wanted kind of for that time frame. And so they came up with monsters, and they did a couple of monsters books, and they're just fun. I mean, the artwork itself just allows you to be so creative with creating all these different monsters. And so I think it started out kind of as one thing, and now they're just this super fun vehicle that we can sell not only during Halloween, but all year round.
Totally agree. Sean, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd looked at, that was the other part of the research, actually. I'd looked at the previous books you've got of San Francisco, California, how the other illustrators had taken it. And I kind of wanted to follow that kind of simplicity with the monsters, if you know what I mean. They're kind of almost cute, but goofy in the same way. And I based mine on the two things that I wanted to base them on. Was one, the Muppets, when the Muppets played their animals, they were always a bit, those bright colours with the bongy eyes, like the Cookie Monster and the other monsters on the early Jim Henson Muppets. And that was one of the sort of theories. And the little, I don't know if you have them in the States, I'm sure you do. When I was a child, they still have them now. They have little rubber finger monsters with the bendy arms. Do you remember them?
Yes.
You get them in party bags. And these are kind of that. They're a bit of a thing on that because they're tiny monsters. So they're the little finger monsters. These are kind of in that. They're sort of, that's another influence on them. That's why some of them have got little, floppy bottoms and the rubbery arms.
The one on the top right, really, I see that now.
Yeah.
There's the cover. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I wanted them to be like jelly, like this sort of jelly monster. So they were all a little bit, like goofy and a bit wobbly and a bit susceptible to getting blown up or whatever, like clumsy.
It's fun. Let's see. What's your favorite part of writing and illustrating?
For me, I think my favorite part is just really doing the research and learning so much about a state. I mean, that's really like the fun part. And then the other really fun part is when you're done and you get to, you're like, okay, I did it. It came together. It's fun. It's funny. You have people read it and you're like, okay, does it make sense? And then, that's really just, but really doing the research and learning. I've learned so much about so many states from writing these books and the other series, our 12 Little Elves series. I've learned so much that I would never have known had I not been researching for this. So to me, that's just really fun learning about other states.
Yeah, that's so cool. You could do a road trip and try to visit all of the states that you wrote the books for.
I will. When we can, when it's safe, I will definitely do that.
And then Sean, what about you?
Yeah, it's like going from the challenge. It's a challenge at first. How do I depict, the high wire bridge in one page and in one spread? Is how do you do it and create a dynamism and create the character of the monsters themselves and inject a bit of fun. And then it's my favorite part is actually when it's finished and when you put it all together and it's a balanced book. And I think that the most of, I think any author's illustrator's favorite part is when you actually get the physical book, in the post, and you actually, you get your sense of achievement that it's there in a physical form. And I always said, it was always when I starting out, and it was before I was a professional, I always said one thing I wanted to do was to leave a legacy to my children of having books created by me, because they're physical and they last beyond my life, if you know what I mean. And there's something about me that's forever out there, in children's books. So it's a real honor to have, your own books. And I think for any author or illustrator, that will never change. We're always proud of our achievements in books. It's a great profession to be in. A lot of illustrators try, and I feel very proud to have got to a stage where I do books now, because it is a challenging. It's a challenging profession to get into, and it's an honor to have created books like this.
They're beautiful. So how do you both celebrate when a book is finished? Do you have any traditions?
I'm a big fan of champagne, so that's normally what I do. When I get the finished book in my hand, I kind of run my hand over the cover and have a little toast to another great project with Familias, and that's basically my tradition.
That's a great one. What about you, Sean?
I think mine's about the similar thing, but with beer. The problem I've got is that when you don't know whether it's the same with you, Trish. When you get, sometimes I get 10 copies of each book, as a from it could be 5, could be 10, and the problem is now I can't throw. I've given so many away, and my friends' children are growing up now, so I've got no more little children to give the other copies with, and I can't throw them away. So I've got a cupboard which is getting fuller and fuller of my copies. But I can't part with them. I can't give them the charity shops. It's I've got. But it's not a big problem, but it's a fun problem to have.
Yeah. So I do that same thing. I give them all away, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I need one for me, and then I have to order some more.
Yeah, I did a book series a few years ago, and it was a science book, a series of science books, and I kept getting in the post different language versions. So I got Japanese collection of Japanese ones, Chinese ones, and I've got cupboards full of all the different languages, Italian, French. I kept getting them in the post, and I didn't know what to do with them.
That's really cool, though. I love seeing all the different covers when we sell language or international rights. It's so neat.
Yeah, I love the Japanese version one because it looks great with Japanese text on it.
That's very cool. So just going back, we have a couple more questions too. So we have a question for me. What is my role at Familias, and what's it like to be the go-between between authors and illustrators? So I do marketing and PR. So I try to get people to read and review our books and share them and post about them on social media, and work with authors and illustrators for events and sending out different press releases to places that might cover the book. And I think working with authors and illustrators is honestly one of my favorite parts of the job. Oh, except I also really like seeing pictures on like Instagram of kids holding our books, because I think sometimes it's really easy to get sucked into the day-to-day of email and have to, write these numbers down or send this off. And so it's always really neat to get a message or see a kid holding our book actually looking happy and looking like they're enjoying and learning how to love to read, which is kind of consistent with, I think, Trish's bio and what she said. She likes to promote a love of reading with what her work is. And I think it's really fun kind of being the go-between between authors and illustrators. I don't necessarily take part in the conversations during development. I usually work with them when we first contract the book. I send out just marketing materials, have conversations if people have questions. And then once we have the PDF, I work with them if they have people that they really, really want to send it to, or they want to review it in addition to kind of our standard marketing that we do. And I answer a lot of questions. And again, like that's one of my favorite parts because we work with a really big group of authors and illustrators. We have 300 plus now all around the world. And so we have a lot of really interesting perspectives and people that I get to meet. And then we have another question. How do we feel this book adheres to the Familias vision and mission? And so our mission is to help families be happy. And I think I'll let the author and illustrator take this one, but I think for me, it kind of does go back to the idea, or me when I'm pitching, just seeing kids reading the books in my head as I'm pitching. And I guess when I was pitching this book, I was just thinking, or in this series in general, when I was younger, used to bring books on every long car ride. And so I think if you're traveling to a new place, or if you're just trying to learn about other places in the world and do it in a fun and exciting way, and kind of see some of the major landmarks and remember them with the rhymes, like this series is just fantastic. And so I can see where it really would help families be happy while learning too. So do you also want to, how do you think this book would help families be happy?
I would say that, anything that promotes children reading in any way, shape, or form helps families be happy, I think that's, that is Familius's message, and it's probably all of our message, is to bring something to life that helps kids not only learn, like you said, about learn about a state or landmarks, but in turn, what makes a kid happier than reading a book? That's just really, in my opinion, you're learning something, but you're having fun at it. And you create these memories with your parents reading to you, whether it's in bed or whether it's, wherever it's at that you read books with your kids, but you're creating that memory that will last a lifetime. And to me, that's what can you do that makes a family happier than, that bonding time that you get with the children.
Sean, do you have any thoughts to add?
Yeah, I love the idea of this series. When I first saw it, I thought, what a fantastic idea. You've got all the states of the USA to cover in this. And I think it's great because it crosses two boundaries. It's a fun read, and it's also, it's fiction and non-fiction. It's a travel book as well. But a great idea for, kids on travel guides. It's all like that, learning about a different state, or even a souvenir when you go, may travel there, on a vacation or whatever, and it's a great sort of memento to bring home from that state. It crosses so many different, it ticks loads of boxes in my opinion. I think it's a fantastic idea. And it could go on and on. You could take it to different countries and whatnot. But I think it's, 10 out of 10 for concept. And I'd love to read the other one. I haven't seen the other ones, whether they sell them in the UK or not. We probably don't sell the other state books in the UK, do you?
Well, I can send you a link. You can, I think Book Depository, you should be able to get them all.
All right, yeah.
Anywhere in the world. So I will, okay. But support your indies in the US, please. Anyway.
Another question is, do the books predominantly sell in that state? Is that sort of, that the sort of main sort of selling is in Montana or Colorado or whatever, or do they sort of sell around the states?
So honestly, I think it kind of depends, which isn't a great answer, but we do sell very, very well in the state that the book is based in. I think it's parents and kids want to celebrate where they're from, and it's fun if you know the places that are in the book. But we do, I think the majority of the books that sell in other states for this state, it's probably like nearby, and it's for people who are traveling to that place. So it's usually like near, but not always just centered in that state.
Yeah. So how did you go about deciding which states to do next? I know the first ones were like California and San Francisco, which are probably like obviously like the big states of the USA, and not the same like Colorado and Montana aren't like big states. But how did you decide about which ones to go for next? Is it the process?
Honestly, I think it's mostly demand, and we work with a team of really awesome reps that sell to different stores. And so they tell us they think that their region would love one of these books. And we definitely love our regional picture books and board books, and we plan to keep publishing them as long as we possibly can. So I know that we had another question about if they'll visit all 50 states and if there's any plans to have them travel abroad. And I know, Sean, you definitely indicated to me earlier that you would love to have them do that. So I will pass that feedback along to our team.
Yeah. I could definitely see them in London getting their head chopped off in the Tower of London.
The monsters would be very funny there. And then out of curiosity, Trish, what about other states? Are there any other states that you would love to write or that you have rhymes for already percolating in your head?
No, not really. I mean, Virginia, I would love. My aunt is a teacher there, and she's been bugging me, and I keep telling her I don't get to choose the state. They just tell me, and then I go for it. But I would love to do Virginia. I don't know, Florida might be kind of fun just because of different illustrations you could do there. Anywhere would be fine with me. I will go back to your other question about how do you decide, and that is Familius does a great job at looking at where children's books sell the best, and then that helps them decide, okay, well, Washington obviously sells books really, really well for children based on their other sales, so let's do that. And same thing, so they kind of, I think, go down a list of rankings on here's the states that sell children's books really well, and then go from there. And I think that's why they started in Washington, Oregon, California, Montana, so we're kind of just moving on West Coast and moving, but it's based on a lot of different research.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then there was a question too about how children's series works, how many authors and illustrators are involved. And so I guess if you both want to, and Sean, I know you talked about working on Colorado as well, but Trish, you have so many books with us. Do you want to quickly talk about your experience with some of the other books that you've worked on?
Yeah, no, we've done, I used to work at Familius for a time. And when I started working there, they started all these great series. And the person that started this series and our other series, Jess Smart Smiley, he started writing, and then he got sick, unfortunately. So I, at the time, was more on the creative end of it versus the writing end of it, but I always wanted to write. And I have absolutely no training whatsoever. Officially. So I just said, well, why don't you let me try it? I love children's books. I've been involved in children's books and entertainment for a long time. Let me try my hand at it. And so I helped finish a couple. And then from then it was like, I want to do more. So give me whatever states you want and I will go forth. And we have a great, we've worked on a great primer series where W is for Washington and Let's Count Washington. Those are board books. So those are more like just W's for Washington would be, just everything A to Z that you would find in Washington. And then the other primer is more you're counting with numbers. But you're using elements from that state. So it's just really fun to take all those things you have to accomplish and then put them all together in a way that's, of course, fun and rhymey. So I just, like you said, it kind of started just because there was a need. And now I just do whatever they ask me to do because I just have so much fun doing it.
Which we really appreciate. And then Sean, where does some of your inspiration come from, and what do you have as far as books that influence you?
Well, it goes way back. I mean, I've often loved books since I was a child, and I've never been a great reader as a child, and I still aren't a great reader, but I absolutely love picture books, and I still do. I mean, at school, it was, my very first memory, which I still think is one of the greatest books, is the Very Hungry Caterpillar, which it's still, to me, it's the simplicity of it and the readability of it for small children it goes beyond, it's my number one probably choice of the best children's picture book. But personally, as an illustrator, it goes hand in hand with my love of mid-century design. And I kind of influenced by the sort of illustrators from the 50s through to the 70s, and I do collect vintage children's books, and I've got a few here I can put up on the screen to show you some of my favorite illustrators. I don't know whether you've heard, can you see this? A French illustrator called Alain Gris. He's probably not much known in very many places, but if you can see I can put up this, the colors and the palette that he uses. I mean, it's the kind of thing I love. The color, I love bright colors, and that sort of is one of my favorite illustrators. And I love things that are very simple as well. I love simple illustrations. So if I think some of his other illustrations, like this sort of thing, which is a really lovely illustration by him. And I love that sort of mid-century poster art from the 1950s, European. Another book I've got here is an American illustrator called Bilcher Matz. And you can see this. And this was published in 1959. It's an American book. It's an Esquire book. It's a men's cookery book. So it's not always children's books the way you can get really good illustration. I mean, you would think that was from a children's book. It's actually a men's Esquire cookery book. So it's for men to do cooking. So it's full of lovely illustrations, as you can see there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's by a guy called Bilcher Matz, who did Esquire, which is the men's magazine Esquire, and it's full of these lovely simple illustrations. And you often find that I'm really into American cookery books because they have a lot of really good vintage American cookery books that are full of fantastic illustrations. Poster art, I love vintage poster art, like these sort of things from the 50s and 60s. These are Scandinavian. So all the poster artists have a big influence with this sort of thing.
So great.
I'm really into the most simple use of block colors, less is more type of thing. Another illustrator you probably all know, Charlie Harper, the great wildlife illustrator.
So beautiful.
It's funny because I've just recently bought from the National Parks, USA National Park Service, some original posters, Charlie Harper's National Park posters, which I bought online. I got them really good price, and I thought these are great. They could. And when they came, I didn't realize how big they were. They're the posters that they use in sort of wherever in town. So they're absolutely enormous. They're the size of a door. So I'm probably never going to get them framed. They're so big. Nice to have. And this one, I mean, this is probably my favorite children's book ever that I've got. It's my favorite, but it's my prized possession. It's different to my illustration, but what I like about this is American illustrators called Alison Martin Provenson. I don't know whether you heard of them.
I don't.
Duo, and they're illustrated during the 50s and 60s, and I absolutely love their work. It's not quite like my work, but what I like about it is the sort of, you can see them. Mm-hmm. And what I like about them is that there's a kind of darkness to them, which you don't actually get now in children's book. We kind of think of children's books as a very fun thing, very bright, very jolly. And in the 1950s, they were sort of, they could kind of come up with things that are a little bit more sinister. This is the Minotaur one, but absolutely wonderfully illustrated. They're almost like works of art. Each and every one has a quality to it. That, I'm trying to find another one that I like. They're in the horses on that. This one.
Those are gorgeous.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. Absolutely, every page is a work of art. And the work does, it's a team, it's a husband and wife team, Alison Martin Provenson. But it's so beautifully illustrated. it's like I said, the kind of illustration we don't normally get so much nowadays. You know, it's more fine art than
Definitely.
yeah. So yeah, that's if I say that's my all-time favorite collector's book that I have. Which is, it's an American book, so I mean, I found it in a car boot sale there.
Oh,
It was there was the last stall in the car boot sale, and it was 10 pence, and I was like, oh,
you can't not buy.
yeah, I finally found it, and I was like, you know, I was jumping around for joy. I found it.
That's wonderful. And I guess Trish, do you mind reading a couple pages of the book and holding it up?
Sure. I'll just read the first couple of pages because that's really kind of how they all begin. So the first page is 10 little monsters, each wearing bandanas, take a trip to the great state of Montana. You see how we have to rhyme everything? 10 little monsters, they just can't wait because monsters love the treasure state. And then what's cool about these is that not only do you get the fun scenery, but you also get a little fact about the state on almost every page. So that's just, that's kind of how they all start out. And then of course we do the countdown from 10 little monsters to, you know, one little monster. This next page is 10 little monsters, water ski Flathead Lake. The speed of the boat makes a gigantic wake. One little monster thinks he can jump it, but he crashes and splashes and doesn't quite make it. So that's another, this is probably one of my favorite spreads in the whole book. I just love it. This is probably my second favorite, but I love that Sean took a regular format like, you know, this way and did a spread this way. I think that makes this really, really, really unique. And I love that. I mean, when I didn't get that when I was first looking through the spreads. I just thought it was going to be, you know, this way. And then when I saw it actually in print, I was so happy that it actually went that way because it, you know, it's really fun for kids to interact and take a book from one way and turn it the other way and then bring it back. So sorry, I was really excited to see how that actually came to be.
And this is the first time you're meeting on Zoom, right? So this is super special.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, no, it's really great. I mean, you see someone's name and then you see the, you know, the work and you kind of give notes back and forth through the publisher. So yeah, it's my pleasure to meet you and via web or Zoom or whatever it is. And I appreciate your hard work on this book.
I was so pleased that you like when I've twisted the format on it because exactly my thoughts. You know, like. You know, just the interaction with moving the page. My children have got a few books that do something. I always wanted to do that. And with it being sort of giant trees as well, I wanted to create that scale of them being little and the giant.
That was perfect. Yeah.
It was more practicality as well as how do you convey giant trees in wood without, you know, doing it on the, you know, portrait format. So I'm glad
that's perfect.
I'm glad it got through the publishing sort of, you know, tick the boxes, that's okay to do type of thing. But I did it on the other one as well. I did on both books because there was, I think it was the Colorado one has a tower in it. And
yes, yeah, that looks it's so cool. I love that. I love that in both of them. I just thought it was really a fun thing to do. So I'm glad you came up with that and it worked out for the book.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Well, I super appreciate both of you, and we really appreciate the Montana Book Festival. Do either of you have any other questions or things that you wanted to bring up about Familius or life or books? Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I think you guys have answered all of our questions. So I just would like to say thank you to Trish Madson, Sean Sims, and Kate Farrell for joining us. And congratulations on 10 Little Monsters Visit Montana. And I'd also like to thank everyone watching. Just as a reminder, you can purchase books by these authors and many others at Fact and Fiction's website, factandfictionbooks.com. And I also urge you to purchase Montana Book Festival merchandise at montanabookfestival.com. There you can also donate so that we can continue our programming after the festival with MBF Plus events. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.